Hi everyone. Welcome to the first inaugural BuilderNet community call. And yeah, it's great to have everyone here. We have the operators of BuilderNet, so it's Nethermind, myself. We have Share from Flashbots, and we also have Kevin from Beaver or BeaverBuild. Just as like a kind of overview of what we'll be doing today, it'll just be like a brief 10-minute introduction. So we want to give a community kind of an overview of BuilderNet, why BuilderNet was started, some of the development work that's been going on in BuilderNet, and just an intro to the operator teams. And then we'll also have two presentations. We have Chris from Flashbots, who's joined us to give a presentation on path to permissionless nodes. And we also have Nicola, sorry, from Nethermind. He'll also be giving a presentation on the path to decentralizing Builder Hub. And then followed by that, we'll also have a kind of 10-minute free-form Q&A session. This is an opportunity for anyone and everyone to give kind of questions to the operator teams or to developers of BuilderNet, or really to ask any questions whatsoever. And yeah, we'll be very, very happy to answer any questions that the community might have. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Shiv, who will be giving a brief introduction to BuilderNet. And we'll also be introducing ourselves as operators. I guess I'll start. I'm James. I'm product manager at Nethermind. Nethermind, obviously, it seemed like a very natural fit for us to join the BuilderNet network. We've been running the Mind client since 2017, which has now become a core or critical part of the Ethereum ecosystem infrastructure as an execution client. And of course, we've been very involved with Flashbots, of course, helping to being a core partner and contributing to the PBS ecosystem. So we're very, very happy to be part of BuilderNet and part of this much broader long-term mission of decentralizing block building. Share?
Yeah, actually, Kevin, do you want to go and then I can just chat a little about Flashbots and what we've done so far?
Sure. Hey guys, I'm Kevin from the BeaverBuild team. We built BeaverBuild a few years ago to try to build the best damn blocks on Ethereum, but over the course of the last couple of years, we've recognized that there's some dangers to having a centralized sequencer for Ethereum's L1. So we're here to represent some of the technical demands of standing up a very performant builder. And we also want to help to bring all of the order flow on Ethereum into a mechanism that can make sure that there, again, are no financial centralization vectors. So yeah, so far I've been working primarily on contributing technical updates to the builder and looking forward to doing more of that.
Cool. I'm Shay from Flashbots, and I think we generally just see BuilderNet as the next upgrade to the MEV supply chain. Using new technology like trust execution environments to kind of address a lot of the pain points that people have had in the last several years. We want to reduce the barriers to entry. We want to improve the guarantees for users and apps. And we want to also figure out how we can use block building to accelerate the overall Ethereum roadmap by, for example, one example here is just offering stronger censorship resistance outside of the core protocol to kind of supplement things like Fossil. So yeah, we're very invested in helping kind of bootstrap BuilderNet, taking a lead early on things like privacy, security, how do you make these TEs work? But over time, trying to reduce our role, replace ourselves as a single point of failure. We have an internal goal to stop running most of our centralized infrastructure. So BuilderNet is also a key part of the path to getting there on our end. Yeah, I think James asked if we could put together just a quick sort of 5-ish minutes. What have we been doing for the last couple of months? What's going on with BuilderNet? So I thought I would share. I put together some very, very sort of informal slides. This isn't meant to be like talking at everybody, just I know people are coming to this call with a different amount of context. So let me see if this will work. Yeah. Right. Can someone just say if you are seeing a little black screen that says State of BuilderNet?
Seeing it.
Amazing. Okay, great. So yeah, basically, I just wanted to give you all a quick snapshot of what we've been doing for the last 6 months since BuilderNet launched. Most of this work actually is public, but I know that maybe not everybody has been following the development, so just wanted to give you a quick peek into what's been happening. And then second of all, we're getting some questions, so thought it'd be useful to actually just show some data on like what does BuilderNet look like today, how many nodes there are, how many boxes it's building. So I'll just give you kind of like a quick set of snapshots there. I put this together pretty fast, so bear with me. But okay, so what have we been doing? Well, very high level, our goal is to decentralize block building, so there's no centralized infra dependencies. You can censor order flow. Block building itself is very distributed geographically amongst a bunch of different people. Obviously, it's super ambitious, so our focus for the last 6 months has just been on laying a lot of the groundwork and the infrastructure to actually get there. Concretely, I think our initial milestones, many of which were kind of laid out in some of the early posts, were just to demonstrate that like many teams could actually safely cooperate a block builder together in TEs, and also make sure that it had actually comparable performance to some of the centralized systems that existed. And once we reached these goals, we kind of committed as the operators to migrate our legacy builders to BuilderNet. So what have we been doing? Well, we made a bunch of improvements to the operator experience. This has been a huge focus for us. There's a bunch of blog posts. I'll just shout out if you are curious about what we've actually been shipping, but there's like automated bootstrapping, observability, local testing support, a lot of improvements to the release process. And TLDR here, we've put a bunch of work into this. And we're now kind of approaching the point where we feel like it's actually realistic for, say, a team that doesn't have a ton of TE experience, maybe an audience, you're excited about BuilderNet, but you don't have a lot of experience running these things. We think it's increasingly realistic for other folks to actually participate in the network, which we're pretty excited about because we really want to expand to include more people in this thing. The other thing we've really been optimizing, shout out also to the Beaver folks here, is just performance. We've heard from a lot of people, searchers especially, that it has to be fast for them to get good execution. And we're pretty excited. We recently hit an important goal here, which is to get 99% of blocks to be built in less than 100 milliseconds. So that's like from when we see a transaction to when a bid gets updated at a relay. And we also did a bunch of work on replacements for the Sexdex searchers in the audience. And then finally, last big thing here is that we've been following through on those promises we made to migrate our centralized builders to BuilderNet. So as of actually December, Flashbots no longer operates any centralized block builders outside of BuilderNet. Very excited about this. As I mentioned, deprecating our centralized infrastructure is a pretty big goal that we have internally. And also as of May, the BeaverBuild team has started sunsetting their builder in favor of BuilderNet. So very excited about these things. That's where we are. Most of these initial goals, I would say, well underway. There's still a lot of work to do here. Completely migrating to Beaver. We want to do more on stability, on DevX, on performance. But I think basically we feel like it's now clear that, okay, multi-operator TE builder works in practice. It is a viable replacement for centralized infrastructure, which is great. So that's what we've been doing. I think because I actually got some questions about this, just wanted to give a couple of snapshots on what does BuilderNet actually look like today. Not going to cover everything here, but just some of the highlights, things that people I think have had some FAQs about. So if you look under the hood at BuilderNet today, we have 3 permissioned operators, BeaverBuild, Nethermind, Flashbots. We have diverse compliance policies, and they're deployed in 2 regions, so US East and EU. And all of our nodes run Intel TDX, it's the type of T we run, and they're in Azure Cloud. And then we use Ref as our EL client and Lighthouse. In the short to medium term, we really want to grow this to include permissionless nodes, hopefully more clouds. We've been working on getting support for Google Cloud in particular, and trying to deploy this to as many locations as possible. we are also, as I think the Nethermind folks will say more about, we're also really working on adding support for multiple EL/CL clients. Client diversity is super important here for resilience and a bunch of other things. And then long term, we want to figure out, how do we expand beyond the cloud? How do we actually innovate on the hardware level? Maybe adding support for other kinds of TEs. We're still kind of looking into what that might entail. And then just quickly, also looking at the impact, like what is it actually doing? Today, we're building, I think, something like 25% of MEV boost blocks. And BuilderNet has generated about $1 million of refunds. So this is a snapshot I took like a couple days ago from the last week on Relay Scan. So you can see that altogether, the nodes kind of grouped under the BuilderNet category are building something like a quarter of MEV boost blocks. And this is a chart of what the refunds look like over time. In case you don't know this, BuilderNet has a native refund rule. So we pay basically a majority of our builder profits back to the searchers, the wallets, the apps that send to it. And as we, Flashbots, BeaverBuild have been migrating more of our centralized operations to BuilderNet, the refunds kind of have been growing as the chart showed there. So yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg, just a little bit to prime you all on what we're up to, what some of the goals are, what we're looking ahead to. We're working really, really hard to make this thing, secure, scalable, fault tolerant, censorship resistant, programmable, and trying to involve as many of you as possible in it. So I hope that gives you just a little bit of a context on what we're doing now, and I'm very excited to talk with you all about how we make it better. So that's all I had to kick off.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Shu. So yeah, I guess that gives us a pretty good segue into the next sequence here, which is Chris, or Chris Hager from Flashbots, who's going to be sharing his discussion on the path to permissionless nodes on BuilderNet. So without further ado.
Thank you. And yeah, well put, Shay, very concise. I think like if anybody has questions, I would also be happy to take them like as we're going.
Yeah,
I can say a few words. Oh, please, Shay.
If anyone wants to toss questions in the chat, by the way, we can take them there as well. Or if someone has a burning question, happy
Right now.
Oh, yeah.
So did you say something? It was strangely muted.
Oh no. I'll put it in the chat.
All right. Let me see that I'm sharing the right thing. I hope this works. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the overall architecture and then diving into the path to permissionless builder nodes. Just a really quick recap how BuilderNet works for anyone who is curious and not yet really familiar with it. There is a set of block building nodes that are running within TDX VMs on the Azure cloud. And there is a centralized infrastructure component run by Flashbots, which takes care of secrets and configuration and peer discovery, and the redistribution archive. Because for redistributing the block profits, you need to calculate how much a single transaction contributed to the overall block profit. That includes a lot of backtesting and requires access to the transactions and the bits at a given point in time. And over time, the plan is to decentralize all this infrastructure. And there is very concrete plans for some of these pieces. You can find a bunch of writings on the forum, the BuilderNet forum. It's linked on the BuilderNet website, the BuilderNet docs, specifically for the secrets and provisioning. We have a pretty interesting architecture that's relatively close to shipping a prototype with that allows a arbitrary governance model to define certain configurations to be put on chains, to be referenced on chain, and the data coming from a DA layer. There's some more there. It's called the TE Service Governance and Provisioning Framework, the blog post. And obviously, the order flow is private data. So the order flow entering the builder nodes is not supposed to be visible to anyone and only gets included as part of the block sent to MEV-boost relays here on the bottom. There is also the secrets parts that are provisioned through this Builder Hub component. All of this is open source. You can find these, the Flashbots, the BuilderNet docs. They have a big chapter on open source software where you can find links to all the software packages. And the blog contains release notes that link to all the specific versions and configurations used in each release. So anybody can reproducibly build the VM image for the builder node and verify that the measurements which represent the overall configuration of the TDX instance match the ones that are used in the current BuilderNet network. Let me see what else is here. This is probably not so interesting. There is like one important component here is the CVM proxy instances that are running both on Builder node as well as in front of Builder Hub, which takes care of the PEE proof validation, basically that allows on the one side users to connect to an instance and verify the measurements of this instance and that they match a given set of measurements or what they locally reproduce by the reproducible build process. It also allows the Builder Hub infrastructure to confirm that the node that is requesting the secrets and configuration is actually running within the expected environment and not diverging and not leaking the secrets and the private data. Here, and you can find all of these diagrams in the BuilderNet documentation. It's just like a really rough snapshot here. This one is also interesting. It's like the boot sequence of BuilderNet nodes, where it starts system services and date sync. Then it downloads the secrets, it mounts an encrypted disk. Then it starts operator API and observability tooling, CL and EL nodes, and then eventually ourbuilder. And order flow proxy is what eventually receives the order flow from both users and other BuilderNet nodes, passes it on to ourbuilder, which then submits the bits to relays. And there is one more detailed diagram, but I'm not gonna go through that. That like contains a little bit more the data flows specifically. That's gonna be added to the docs relatively soon. Just a quick outline of the challenges and why it's not the easiest way to deploy software, let's say. Yocto is the type, like it's a build tool chain for building VM images that builds the kernel from scratch, builds all the software from scratch. It has its own DSL with like 1,000 pages of docs. Image builds can take long, deployments, startup, chain sync take long, testing cycles take long. The minimal init system is limiting. Only Azure is supported for now, and I will dive into a little bit more detail on that. And yeah, altogether is this challenge that we are iteratively attacking and improving on. For instance, we are migrating away from Yocto to a thing called Make OSI, which is a more friendly and modern toolchain that builds on a Debian kernel and that allows to install Debian packages that are reproducibly buildable. That will come in the next month or two. That will significantly improve velocity and like a lot of other things too, including a local devnet and so on. Now let me just really quickly touch on PE proof validation. Like how can anyone verify what is running? It works like this. You can do a ATLS connection to a BuilderNet node, which validates the TDX measurements as part of the TLS handshake. So you make a TLS connection with a special tooling or library or whatever you prefer. And as part of the TLS handshake, you verify the measurements and get them attested from Intel or Azure or wherever. And once that connection is established, you have a guaranteed set of measurements, which you can then cross-check to your locally reproduced one. And if you feel like these measurements are what you trust, what you receive back is a TLS certificate. And that TLS certificate references a private key that is stored exclusively on this TDX instance. You can verify by code that this private key never leaks. So you can make HTTP requests, HTTPS requests, and if the server corresponds with the private key from that you require with pinning this TLS certificate, you can guarantee that you're talking to this particular TDX instance, and there is no man in the middle attack possible here. If you want to see how it works, you can install this simple command line tool, and then you run the attested get command pointed to a BuilderNet node, and there you can find them in the docs. And then you can also link up expected measurements that you can find on measurements.buildernet.org. And then as part of the setup process, you will see the measurements that the instance provides and are attested, and then you cross-reference these two expected measurements. Now, I've been going a little bit over time, I think. Just really quickly on permissionless builder nodes. We are working towards allowing anyone to spin up builder nodes. And there's 3 broad sets of challenges here. The one is security related on just plain like software security. We are currently doing security reviews and audits and threat modeling. That is work in progress. The second bucket is kind of like TEE vulnerabilities and hosting types. As you have seen, like from SGX Fail and others, there's a lot of writings also on the Flashbots forum about different types of vulnerabilities within TEE environments and how you can extract information if you have, let's say, physical access to a chip. And there's also a lot of thinking about countermeasures that range from CPU extensions to something like oblivious RAM and other things, which is why we currently only support the Azure cloud, because it provides a VM-based cloud hosting with a proof of cloud as part of the TE attestation process. So basically, as part of the TE attestation, you get some proof that it is running inside this cloud environment, which prevents physical access to the machine. And the third bucket of challenges is the impact on performance and the communication overhead. If anybody can spin up 100 or 1,000 nodes and get them plugged into the system, and the order flow is shared across all the builder nodes, and that can have some side effects that we are currently designing how to build the peer-to-peer networking protocols and communication protocols to be able to handle this load. Yeah, I think pretty much that's it. So these challenges are actively being worked on right now, and these are the main hurdles on the path to fully permissionless builder nodes. I don't know if you want to do if you have questions now or want to do them later, but I would be curious about a bit of discussion.
We have a couple of minutes for questions. I saw Justin has a question. Maybe that's best answered at the end. Just might be more of a meta point. And Nico had a question around security auditing of the hardware. Did you have plans for continuous audits on TDX or other TEs that you'll be using? And is BuilderNet open to working with dedicated attack labs for this? Chris, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, we are working with a lot of industry partners, but I would defer to somebody from our TE team Sorry, I got a little child thing at the side. Maybe Mo, can you say a little bit more on like how we are working with the industry, or Tina?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yep.
Yeah, so on the TE side, we just finished another great TE salon about TE hardware into software security, covering the entirety of the supply chain. So in the near term, we are definitely inviting and trying to actually create and build a community of white hats as well as security auditors that have experience across auditing across the software stack, as well as understanding the fault line between where hardware meets software. There aren't a lot of them, but we welcome more if you have and if you have interested auditors, please send them our way. Furthermore, what we're like working on, what we've been working on, is to work with essentially major cloud providers for the time being, given that I think for the foreseeable future, that we are basically relying on the proof of cloud or trusting the cloud provider instead of physical access to the machines. And so on that line, we're working with different partners along essentially reproducibility and attestation. And more longer term, what we've been working on is along the trustless TE lines of work. I believe that James, you're also quite familiar with and following the community around open hardware and actually design essentially bootstrapping the secure root of trust through Puff and designing the ideal cryptography chip with quite a few well-known labs around. And we can share more details in writing and all of the progress. A lot of these updates, I believe, is on the Trustless T forum that we can share the link in the side chat. Happy to answer any questions and provide details, and Mo can fill in a lot more such details. Mo, if you have anything to add here.
You covered it quite well. Like we are very open to any any suggestions for any well-known auditor companies regarding T, especially in the context of TEs. Yeah, someone mentioned we've got Mateusz here. Yeah, so Tina covered it pretty much very well, and this would be definitely our next step, because now it's reached a stable situation where we need to definitely to do this and to do it very properly.
Great. We can probably take one more question, and then we'll move on to Nicola. Yeah, this one from Hassan. Are you guys engaged, or have you any plans to engage with pre-confirmation protocols?
Yeah, very high level. Yes, we are trying to figure out what the best way is for BuilderNet to support pre-confs. We've been talking with, I think, many of the teams working on this for many months, both from Flashbots perspective, both in terms of how should Boost maybe evolve to support some of these new needs, what BuilderNet should do to support these needs. I think for a while there was just a lot of work to do on and maybe still to reach the right kind of standards, so that we're all like actually speaking the same language. We know what the specs should be, and we're actively kind of trying to figure out how to marry that with some of the goals that we have in BuilderNet, make sure that we're doing it in a way that is decentralized, seeing if we can actually use some of the unique properties that you get from TEs to do pre-comps in a way that give people the best possible guarantees about how their transactions are being processed. So yes, have been engaging with folks, have been also, internally, I guess, at Flashbots and also broadly as an operator set, trying to figure out what's the best design here. Very, very open to input if people want to chat about it.
Okay, great. Well, we'll move on to our next speaker. Nicholas joined us. He's going to be talking about some of our efforts with our builder support and the path to decentralizing Builder Hub. If he's available. Looks like
Sorry,
he's
my
not in the
internet.
pool.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hi.
Yeah, my internet is spotty today. I think that Starlink decided to start acting up just now, which is super convenient. So yeah. I have missed what you have been saying for past 10 or 20 seconds, so please, sorry, you can repeat.
No, I was just saying, yeah, please feel free to discuss your efforts on our builder development.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name is Nicola, and I'm one of the core engineers at Nethermind team. And we have been trying together with our colleagues from the Flashbots introduce the client diversity to our builder and by extension BuilderNet. So yeah, my talk will be rather short, and I haven't prepared any slides. But yeah, quickly, like if you're not familiar what our builder is, it's a block builder at the heart of the BuilderNet, and it has been created by and maintained by the Flashbots team. It's open source, so of course, as everything here, you can check it out. It has been created in Rust, and it leverages RET and REVM for block building. We at Nethermind, our colleagues as Flashbots, we are committed to decentralization and client diversification. So this is why we started to look into how to make our builder work with other clients. There are multiple options that we look initially, and I'm not sure yeah, okay, I'm back. Yeah, as I've been saying, there have been multiple options that we have looked into initially. We have tried, for example, we have thought of FFIing from Nethermind client and rather C# into the ourbuilder and Rust. But yeah, this would improve client diversification, but it wouldn't be the kind of reaching the end goal, because it would just enable Nethermind use alongside RET with ourbuilder. So this is why, for the time of being, we have settled for a solution where you do these RPC calls over the IPC, specifically Unix domain sockets. So how it works in practice is our builder is executing transactions, and it needs to access the state. So each state access is one of these RPC calls. And if you're worried about the latency here and the number of these calls, it might sound kind of bad, quote unquote bad at first, but it isn't. Our initial metrics are showing that there are around 300 requests per second and need 50 microseconds. And when I said latency, median latency, I mean full time from sending a request to the node back to getting the request back from the node.
Looks like we've lost Nicola. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. What was the last thing that you got?
You were discussing 900 microsecond latency.
Yes. Yeah. So this latency is much better than latency that I have had this time. But yeah. So what I wanted to say is that our builder is basically
I think the network's probably not very stable. I can probably like round this off, probably not in Nicola's best words. But our build has been designed to be completely client agnostic, and this is really where future work is going. And it's been designed in such a way where if even if, for example, Reef or our EVM has a bug, or we want to design this in such a way where, for example, if a client such as Reef or EVM or any other client on BuilderNet has a bug, it won't stop block production by BuilderNet. So really, like this is like the opening act of us creating a environment where other core dev teams or developers who are interested in adding support for ourbuilder for their clients can build a top of our work in what we hope is a completely permissive way. And we can hopefully see like a much broader diversity of execution clients being supported by BuilderNet. So this is something that both Nethermind is focused on, and we would also like to work with other execution client developers. So if there's anyone who's interested in our builder support for their client, any teams, yeah, please feel free to reach out to Nethermind or Flashbots. We'll be very, very happy to help you out and show you our work. So
yeah, thanks James for stepping in. But yeah, if you have any questions, we are here.
Great. I'm not sure we have too many questions related to that piece, but Justin's been quite active. Shay, I see there's a question here that might be appropriate for the Flashbots team. It's what is the relationship between BuilderNet and Suave? Yeah, and we have Phil here actually. Yeah, let's unmute him.
Phil, do you have audio right now? It'd be fun to hear the Phil answer. I can take it if you can't speak though. Okay. If Phil unmutes at any point, feel free to just let me know. I think maybe the fun answer to this question is you'll probably get very different answers to what is Suave from many different people, and that's kind of like by design. But I think one way to maybe make it make a little bit more sense concretely is I think you can think about BuilderNet as a sort of concrete instantiation of Suave. So Suave lays out a lot of these kind of design principles and goals for how to approach MEV. Things like, programmable privacy, confidential compute, geographic decentralization, neutralizing exclusive order flow are some of the things I think are talked about in some of the original Suave posts. And, with BuilderNet, we're kind of creating this platform for programmable privacy, confidential compute that can be geographically distributed, that can run all kinds of interesting applications, interesting MEV time applications, block building being one obvious application, but there's many more that you can think of. So that's like one framing that I think you could have, but I'm very also curious to hear the Phil take if you're with us now.
All right, cool. Hopefully my mic is working. Thumbs down if not, but all right. So yeah, no, I mean, I think Suave is definitely, at least for me, still a vision of from kind of a technical and logical centralization side. What is the bare minimum logical centralization and API we need to share to be able to do things like cooperative block building and other MEV time privacy applications, order flow auctions, things like that. I think BuilderNet is like one step towards that vision, kind of from the market side today. So we've built many tools kind of around this vision, many experiments, taken many steps towards it. This is one that's taking the current market structure and moving it more into TEEs, which is like one step closer to then kind of distributing it more into more permissionless nodes, and also breaking down different parts of the block computation that can possibly be as well distributed themselves. So we have multiple efforts in that direction. So I think the long-term roadmap of BuilderNet is very compatible with the Suave roadmap. It is kind of one path to arrive at that destination. But Suave is also a long-term vision. And you can't just kind of flip a switch and have the market start building blocks on top of this very experimental kind of simulation-based privacy API overnight.
And yeah, we have one more question, which is kind of more related to the BuilderNet roadmap. And yeah, is Flashbots really expected to shut down 2025? And BeaverBuild, I think you already answered this question, but yeah, you're planning on sunsetting your builder in 2025. Shay, could you answer the question perhaps about Flashbots Relay, or is that a team member who might be best?
I posted something in the chat actually a little while ago. I think it's just not in the replies, but yeah, we want to disintermediate centralized relays, like period, which includes Flashbots. And actually, I think this is a good opportunity just to put out a request for collaboration. We have been doing a lot of R&D for the last, like, I think over a year at this point. I think the T boost post came out like a year ago on what would it actually take to disintermediate centralized relays, because relays do a bunch of useful things. And we want to figure out how can we offer some of those same properties, but without having to rely on, say, one centralized team to operate them, with maybe better integrity guarantees, better privacy guarantees, some of the things that the TEs should give us. And there's a bunch of different lines of work on this. So like I said a year ago, we came out at Flashbots with one way you might be able to kind of take advantage of some of the properties of TEs to allow a TE block builder to talk directly to proposers. We have like a partial solution to this, but there's still some really big open questions, things like how do you handle data availability? And there's a bunch of other research being done, I think also by academics, by other industry partners. We actually recently funded, I think possibly looking at our second Flashbots research proposal, which are like community research projects that Flashbots gives grants for and helps advise on different techniques other than the T boost proposal for disintermediating your relay. So there's some ideas on how you could even use threshold encryption here and a bunch of other things. I think somebody has a proposal for using like 3 nested layers of TEs. Anyways, there's a lot of work being done here. We are, I think, still exploring that idea maze, trying to pathfind what is the best way to do this. So if this is something folks here are interested in, there's a bunch of content out there on the Flashbots research GitHub, on the forum about things we're thinking about. We really want to replace our centralized infrastructure, like I said at the beginning. So this is a huge priority for us, but it is actually fundamentally a pretty hard technical problem. And so we're, BuilderNet generally, if somebody has a great idea, we'd be happy to work with you. Maybe you can give out some R&D grants. So yeah, please come talk to us if you want to work on this. It's a hard problem, but a really important one, a huge priority for us. Yeah, I'm happy to talk more about like the details of what we're doing here, but I think that's the TLDR.
And another question on BeaverBuild's dominance or prior dominance and now Titan's dominance. Yeah, Justin's asked, is there a causation behind the correlation? Is this related to performance improvements highlighted at the start of the talk?
I actually don't know what chart you're looking at, but this fluctuates. So on the 7-day, I think Beaver plus BuilderNet has slightly more market share than Titan. On the 24 hours, Titan has slightly more market share than the two of them combined. So I don't think there's actually necessarily a strong trend there. Yeah.
Give a few more questions. Is there a plan to find some common ground for our build and OP builder or OPR builder? Maybe upstream to Reef and Alloy. I'm not sure who's best to answer this question. Actually, Mateus isn't here. I presume it would have been him. A very good question for him.
Maybe
I
I
think
can
we
say
might,
some words.
or Chris.
We
Yeah,
do have
great.
some common ground and some common core across ourbuilder and ourbuilder, but there is also kind of different business and product requirements right now, and also exploratory work. So they have diverged into two separate code bases for some time. We are adding common functionalities and are looking to share more tooling again over time, and maybe eventually converging again into a single repository. But to have the agility that both teams and projects need right now, the decision was made to split them out so each of them can iterate independently.
And one more question from Max. This is maybe it's a Flashbots question, but also BuilderNet. Do we have a consensus view on ensuring proposer builder separation?
Phil, do you want to take that on EPBS? And I can have like a personal opinion, but this is probably way better.
Yeah, sure. Like I said in the chat, I think we're looking at it. We've been in conversations about various versions of the EPBS design for a while. I think this one is broadly fine. There's still some big open questions, probably the biggest of which I think, from my perspective, is kind of what is the incentive to circumvent this, and what is the benefit to the protocol versus the added complexity. So still things we're talking about, but at least from my end on it so far, nothing jumps out as like Flashbots needs to take some sort of serious consensus view on this versus just being involved in the conversations with the EF.
Okay, I think we're kind of leaning on the hour. So yeah, I think that's all of the questions we'll take for today. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending what is the first community call. There's going to be many more of these to come in the future. And we're hoping that there's going to be plenty of opportunities to have interesting content and speakers from across the BuilderNet ecosystem. And yeah, also the MEV ecosystem as well. And yeah, we're looking forward to sharing updates, all of the operators with any new developments on the BuilderNet network. And yeah, please stay posted for updates. If you have any questions after the call, please feel free to post them in the forum posts. And if you have any suggestions for content or anything you would like us to raise or discuss in the next call, please feel free to reach out and share them. All right. Thank you, everyone.